So in this video, I want to talk about how to make a living as an artist, and I really want to start by just trying to be really honest with you and not mislead you in any way. It is a very difficult thing to do. If you want to sell paintings for, $200 or even $1,000, you can, sort of manage that yourself. You can go to all these art shows that they have, in parks and outdoors. And, these are art shows where the artists themselves come and they set up your paintings that you have for sale, and you can sell a few of those, at any given show. This is opposed to selling your work through a gallery or even having an agent that sells your paintings. In other words, selling your work on your own, whether that's through art shows, local art shows, which are typically held outdoors in parks, and it seems like every city has one, and you can find them all over the place. You can also enter your paintings into competitions where you can possibly make some money doing that. Another way to sell your paintings is through social media, whether you're on Instagram or TikTok or X or whatever it is, showing people your work. People get involved and start kind of following you, and you can sell your paintings that way. But all of those ways to paint, I'm not talking about through galleries, I'm not talking about through an agent, sort of selling your work on your own and being your own salesperson. There's a real limit to what you can do with that. Now, there are some people on social media that make a decent living, but they're doing it not necessarily selling their paintings, but just by having a really popular, YouTube channel or account on TikTok, where you get engagement that way, and you can have people pay you through Patreon or by selling your work or whatever it is. And that is, there is some potential to make a living doing that way. It's very difficult. You need to be posting, every 2 or 3 days. You've got to be actively painting the whole time, showing off your work and your works in progress. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a great way to have to get people interested in your work, etc. But it's a very difficult way to actually make a living. So if you think about, let's talk about, if you're selling your paintings for $1,000 or even $2,000 or $3,000 a piece, and you sell one painting, a month, let's say, especially if you're doing that through a gallery. There are a lot of small galleries that you can get into very easily. There are co-op galleries where artists get together and rent a space and put their paintings up. But those, I'm not talking about those small galleries, but just, if you want to make a living as an artist, or let's say that you're, selling paintings and you're selling 1 or 2 a month for $1,000 or $2,000, even $3,000, you got to remember that the gallery is going to take half of that, or maybe, or 40% at least. And then you have all of your expenses related to actually painting the paintings, getting prints made, canvas, materials, art supplies. So when you break all that down, you're not going to make a lot of money doing that. Even if you're selling one painting a month, for $1,000 or $2,000, and then you're only getting a certain percentage of that, that's not going to be enough, to support yourself, especially if you have children or you're married or whatever it is. So that's a very difficult thing. Nothing wrong with selling your paintings that way, but I'm just saying, to be really practical, you need to be selling your paintings for $5,000, $10,000, $50,000. And then, if you sell one of those a month, or let's say 12 over the course of a year, you might only have 1 or 2 big shows in the gallery. You're going to get half of that because the gallery is going to take half, which they totally deserve, by the way, because it is very difficult to run a successful gallery that actually moves art. Which brings me to my next point, and that is that before you, try to get yourself into a gallery, you need to make sure that that gallery actually sells paintings. And you can, go ask AI, whether it's Grok or ChatGTP or whatever it is, and find out whether these galleries actually move art, whether they actually sell paintings at a decent price, whether they have shows that are attended by large numbers of people, whether they're connected to the wealthy people in any particular city. It's going to be wealthy people, people who are that have a lot of money, that are going to spend $5,000 on a painting. It's unheard of for people to buy paintings for $5,000 unless they've got a decent amount of money. So that's who you're selling your paintings to, and this is if you want to actually make a career of it and have this be your primary source of income. There's the other way to sell your paintings at a high price is by having an agent that is either somebody that works with decorators. There are companies out there that represent artists and find you work, but for the most part you want to be able to find a gallery in a large city that actually sells paintings for decent prices. Now, in order to get into a gallery like that, you have to have exceptional work and you have to be producing work on a regular basis. Now, before I even talk about, trying to get into a gallery or having an agent represent you, I should say that if I were to ask 100 successful artists, Pete, these are artists who are actually making their living exclusively through selling their artwork. You will find that if I asked 100 people, you would find 100 different answers as to how they became successful with their paintings. But if I was going to suggest a game plan for actually how you get into galleries, I would suggest that number one, is you have to have a large body of work. You can't just approach a gallery with 5 paintings. You need to approach a gallery with a minimum of 15 paintings, and these are going to be 15 of your best paintings. So you might have painted 30 or 50 or 100 paintings, but when you approach a gallery, you're going to only want to show them your top 20 or top 15 at a minimum, so that they can have a sense of where your work is now. It doesn't matter, what you've painted in the past. By the way, it's important that your work has sort of a unifying style to it. For a lot of reasons, galleries like work that looks like it all came from the same artist. They don't want an artist that's just all over the place. You can't be doing like Western art style paintings and then turning around and doing, paintings of like, airplanes or whatever it is. There has to be some sort of unifying theme or style to your work. And so a lot of times, when you're starting painting, you don't know actually what that style is going to be. And at least with my own students, they might say, well, I want to do this and this and this, or I love painting dogs, or I like painting this, or I like painting interiors with people, or whatever it is. But very likely, as you start to paint and as you start to produce work, you will change your style or get into something that's different. So, through this process of creating your body of work, whether that's, like I said, 20 paintings, 30, 50 paintings, you will eventually find your style and something, whether it's something that you're just good at or it's just a style that you like or whatever it is. But once you have this style and your paintings have this unifying sort of theme to them, then you can approach galleries, but you want to only show them the paintings that are in that style, so to speak. There's going to be exceptions to that rule, but for the most part, that's a good idea. Now, this is the way that I would approach a gallery, and there's, most galleries, they'll even have a sign in the window saying, if you're an artist and you're trying to submit work to our gallery, that we don't accept, artists coming in person. Rather, they want you to email them and send you some pictures of your work. And that may be what you have to do, but at least for me personally, what I would do is I would just, say, if there's a great gallery in Philadelphia or whatever it is, I would walk in to that gallery with my very best paintings. I might have somebody that's with me, helping me, and so that I can walk in the door with 2 paintings. And these are going to be your best paintings that you've ever painted. And I would have one of those paintings at least, if not both, in really beautiful frames. And frames are expensive, but you can find old frames in antique shops. You can even go buy a frame and then stretch a canvas to fit that frame. But I would walk in with your two very best paintings, preferably in frames, and I would approach the gallery that way. Now, they might say that as you're walking in, they might say, we don't accept artists or whatever it is. We'd rather you email somebody. We would rather you email us with your work. But by that point, it's too late. You're in the door. They can see whether your paintings are great. And if your paintings are great and they're interested in it, they're going to ask you questions. They're not going to just dismiss you because you violated the rule or whatever. So if your work is great and they love it, they're going to ask you questions. And the questions are going to be things like, are you represented by another gallery? That's going to be really important to them. If you're up in New England or in London or wherever you are, and you've got a lot of, if you're already represented by another gallery, they're going to be far less interested in you. Now, it doesn't matter, if you're in the United States, for instance, and you have galleries that represent you in California, the galleries in New York are not going to mind that at all. They just want to know that you are not represented by another gallery in the same city or whatever it is. That brings me to another point. When you do, if you do sign a contract with any gallery, it's perfectly fine for them to have exclusive rights to selling your work in a given area, like in a city or even in a whole area like New England or whatever, or the whole state of California or something. But you would never want to sign a contract with a gallery that wants exclusive rights to all your work everywhere in the world, because then you're really just going to be working for that gallery. Now, I'm not saying that, if it's a prestigious enough gallery, it might be okay to do that, but for the most part, I've always shied away from committing to any one particular gallery as the exclusive representative of my work, because I just didn't want to be, obligated to only work for them. But it is perfectly natural for a gallery to sign a contract for exclusive in a particular state or a particular part of the country. All right, so once you are into the gallery, these questions that they're going to ask you, they're going to want to know how much work do you produce every year. They're going to want to see more of your work. They're going to want to know also, and this is the other part about it, is they're going to want to know who you are. They're going to want to know how much work you have on social media. And that's because when a customer comes in and they're maybe, they're having a show for your work, or it's just somebody that walked in, interested in purchasing paintings. Again, this is going to be a person that has a lot of money, and they might say to the gallery owner, tell me about this painting. And they might see a painting that they think would look great in their home, but they're not going to trust their own taste. They're not going to go spend $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 on a painting without hearing from the gallery owner who they trust to tell them, yeah, this painting is actually worth that. So they might say, tell us about this painting, and then the gallery owner will tell them not about the painting, but about you, the artist. And they're going to want to know that you're not some person that's, it's okay to be crazy, because artists are crazy often, and there's nothing wrong with that. But they don't want you to be somebody that's going to spoil their all the work they do in trying to sell your painting. So depending on who their customers are or what part of the country you're in, you don't want to go in there wearing a suit and tie with all these colored pamphlets passing out. You don't want to be this sort of like overzealous salesman trying to sell your own work. They're looking for a particular type of person. And my advice is just to keep your mouth closed and don't talk about anything. Don't start giving your reasons for why you paint or anything else. You can just be, I love to paint. This is my work. I hope you like it. And anything beyond that, I would just, like I said, keep your mouth closed and don't spoil it, because you can go in there and if you say the wrong thing, it's a political world, and they may be less interested in selling your work. So, and then the other thing is, if you're heavily involved on social media and you're posting your works in progress all the time and you're showing everything to everybody, that also, and there's some dispute about this, but I personally think that that's not going to help you at all. If I was running a gallery, and I have people that I know that do run galleries, what they want is they want somebody that's unknown, somebody that they can put their work out there and sort of be the person who, or the gallery that discovered you. But if you're already all over social media and you have a lot of followers, that kind of takes the shine off of who you are as an artist. And it's all, none of it makes any sense, but this is just the way the world is. It's a political world. So now here's what I would do, is I would say, and this is just, again, my own personal advice here, but I think that what an artist should do is an artist should paint what they love, do your own thing, follow your own taste, and don't give any thought at all to what will sell or what won't sell. There's nothing wrong with that, but going into a gallery and finding out that people like a particular style, and then trying to paint that style when it's not really you, over the long run, I don't think that's going to work. I think what you should do is focus on your own taste, do your own thing, create your body of work. And it is helpful to do some large paintings, just so they tend to take you more serious if you've got a few really large paintings that you've painted. But for the most part, you're painting paintings that you love, you're doing your own style. You will find a gallery that appreciates your style, or that wants to sell your style of work. But ultimately, you have to follow your own taste, and there are all kinds of galleries out there that like different styles, so you have to find the gallery that likes your particular style. Now, once you're selling these paintings, and again, it might take you years to paint your 20 or 50 paintings that you're going to paint, but once you have a body of work, and say, 10 is a bare minimum, but like 15 paintings that you can walk in and show to a gallery, and you might, only show them 6 or 7, but let them know, hey, I've got these other ones also, and show them images of those paintings. But they're going to want to see some actual paintings, and I would recommend painting those paintings on linen canvas, or, high quality panels, or whatever it is. Don't do little cheap, cotton canvas or whatever, because they're just not going to take you as serious as if you're painting on linen or on real quality panels or whatever. Now again, it's really important that you find a gallery that actually moves art. Most galleries, and I'm not sure about this, but I think this is true, the majority of galleries are not galleries that move artwork. There are typically galleries that are these small galleries. They're really pretty inside, but maybe they're owned by somebody that's using it as a tax write-off. It could be somebody's wife or husband or whoever that's running this gallery, and they're using it as a tax write-off because they've always wanted to have a gallery. And they're impressive, and they decorate them really nicely, but they don't actually sell paintings or move artwork. And you can usually tell when you walk into a small gallery, or even a large gallery, that is moving artwork. They're busy, they have multiple employees, people are coming and going, but you can also go and ask, ChatGTP or Grok or one of the AIs out there to suggest to you in a particular city which galleries move artwork, because that's going to be really important. And also you need to find a gallery that actually wants to sell, paintings that are realistic, or whatever style it is that you're painting. And you can see that by the work that they've already got displayed. But the key thing is to find a gallery that actually sells paintings, that actually moves artwork, that, if you come in one day and you see a whole bunch of paintings on the wall, you come back, a month or 2 months later, and all of those paintings are different. They're not the same paintings. Then that's a real good sign. But again, you could go ask, AI to suggest to you which galleries actually move artwork. Okay, so here's the real big picture on all of this, and that is that, you know, it seems like a simple thing. So my advice is to paint, you know, 30 paintings, 50 paintings, and to every single one of those paintings, you're trying to paint your masterpiece. You're doing quality work, and then you're even from those 30 or 50 paintings, you're picking your very best ones. So maybe your best 15 or 20, because you only want to show the galleries your best work. But the other thing is, and again, is that you have to be producing work on a regular basis. You know, every 2 weeks, every month, you're painting a new painting, and you're actually in your studio producing great artwork. And if you do it long enough, and there's this, you know, there's going to be a long period where you're not in galleries, where you're creating your body of work. It might be 5 years, it might be even longer before you actually are painting your masterpieces on a consistent basis and are able to actually go into a gallery and say, look, here's the last 20 paintings that I've done, or I've done these paintings in the last year, and I'm able to, you know, produce paintings, one a month or two a month or whatever it is. So my best advice is really to follow your passion, do your own thing, you know, paint paintings that you love, paint at least, you know, 20 or 50 of those paintings, choose the very best ones, get a few of them framed, and then go talk to galleries. But you have to do all of that first. And keep in mind that very few people will actually do that. There are a lot of people out there that are artists, but, you know, they paint one painting every 3 months, and they're not really trying to paint their masterpieces. You know, they're painting paintings for their friends. They're painting, you know, their friend's dog who sent them a picture from their cell phone, and they're just not taking it very seriously. But if you take it seriously, and every single painting you paint is you're trying to paint your masterpiece, you know, you're producing work on a regular basis, that's the baseline. That's what you have to be doing in order to go talk to galleries and get into a good gallery. So I hope that's helpful. If you guys haven't checked out Geneva Fine Art, we sell the greatest paint in the world. We're about to introduce a new color, which is a color that I've been wanting to produce for many years and had a real difficult time finding the right pigment. But now we are now producing permanent alizarin crimson, which is a color, again, that you can't mix with the 5 essential palette colors that we sell. This is like a deep, you know, blood red almost, that's very intense, and it's a wonderful color. GenevaFineArt.com. And also, if you're interested in taking private classes from me here in Austin, I have a 6-day class that I teach. Just email me at mark@drawmixpaint.com, and I'll send you information about my classes. I also do Zoom classes, so I'll send you information about that as well. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.